Everyone, and welcome. We are delighted that you are here with us today for the October Experts for Entrepreneurs meeting. We know that you have a choice where you spend the third Wednesday morning of each month, and we promise, as always, it's going to be, your time will be well spent. For those of you who may not know me, I'm Glenda Woolley, a proud E4E partner and your host or facilitator for today's program. I know for myself personally, I can say that when I woke up this morning, I was a little bit down. I don't know if you all heard the news, but last night I heard that I was so disappointed to hear that the networks are not going to be showing one of my favorite holiday programs. It's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. I don't know if you guys heard that, but that made me a little sad. That's a holiday tradition for me during the month of October. So I kind of had that news on my mind this morning when I woke up, and I thought, you know what, it's still going to be a great day, Glenda, because you're going to be with your tribe, the E4E partners and our audience that spend their time with us today. So that certainly for me lifted my spirits. So just a bit of housekeeping before we really get into our agenda, which you should be able to see on your screen, that we have a jam-packed agenda today, some awesome presenters and great topics. But just a little housekeeping that for those of you that might be our guests today, during the course of the meeting, we will be using both the Q&A box and the chat box at the bottom of your screen. By now, I'm sure most of you are no doubt experienced pros, but if you happen not to be familiar with those functions, you'll find them along the bottom edge of your screen, and all you need to do is hover your cursor over them to utilize them. Some of our presenters will be answering questions throughout the presentation, while others may respond to them at the end. If you have a question, then of course, just if you would hover over the Q&A box, or if you have a comment, if you try to, and it's okay, it's all right if you make a mistake, it just kind of helps us separate comments in the chat box and then your questions in the Q&A box. It kind of helps Will, as our driver on this meeting, to kind of quickly respond to the questions and refer them, I should say, to the presenters to respond to your questions. It's a great, the chat box too, I'll give you heads up that, you know, that's a great place to say hello to friends that might be on this meeting. And when you see people's names in the chat box, you know, it might be a good reminder to you that maybe, you know, I haven't connected with them in a while and I need to reach out to them. So use the chat box for comments and maybe document your takeaways, because I'm going to give you a heads up here that, as always, at the end of our meeting, Bill is going to ask you, what were your takeaways? What were your aha moments during our meeting presentations today? So heads up on that one. Make a note of, you know, your tips or ideas that you're taking away from the presentations. So with that, I think that we'll get started in the program and kick off our agenda today. We have our marketing spotlight, and I'm going to turn it over to Thad James. So Thad, take it away.
Why, thank you, Glenda. I appreciate that. I'm going to do a little talking, a little presentation about actually stalking and hunting prospects on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a very powerful tool that businesses can use to find not only prospective businesses, but also prospective clients. And there are easy ways to find people, connect with them, connect to them, and build a relationship very quickly. Of course, the first thing you need to do on LinkedIn is to build your profile. Make sure that your profile is complete and accurate. Of course, you need to have a great profile page, picture. It should be something professional, or in my case, something that reflects your industry or your business. Then you've got a banner picture that you can put up your logo. You can put up a project. You can put up something that reflects your business. And then one of the most important things is the description here. The description should list not what you are in the business. Don't say, Fred Smith, president, because that doesn't describe anything for you. You've got a lot of text space here that you can actually describe your role in the business or what you do in the business. And here I've got artist, entertainer, decorator, installation producer that describes some of the things that I can do. And then that's my phone number, so somebody can call me right here from the profile. They don't have to search for anything else. If they want to connect with me, they can connect via LinkedIn or they can connect on the phone. There's also contact information. You can complete all that. There's lots of information here that you need to fill out. So if somebody looks at your profile, they'll know everything about you that they need to know. Now, once you find somebody that you might want to connect with, you could just send them an invitation, but that's kind of a cold call. If you don't have any kind of connection with them, you want to find out how you can be connected. So you want to find out what kind of groups people belong to. So if you have an interest in pasta, you would type into the groups search pasta lovers, and all these groups come up that relate to that topic. Then you find that group and find out who's in that group that you might want to be connected to. Then you join the group, follow the group, make comments, maybe send somebody an article and say, hey, I found this in our mutual group. It warms up that introduction. This is building a relationship with people before you actually ask them for something. Under somebody's own personal page, you can find out their interests and the groups they belong to. Groups are very important for building relationships because people are following topics and following conversations and posting articles about themselves. Of course, you can search for people by company, group, or alumni. And goodness knows in St. Louis, everyone's got their alumni thing. I don't have a high school so I would search for my alma mater, Oklahoma State University, and I could find all these people that went there. If you find somebody that went to your school, then you can get with them via that connection that you have with them. It's all about getting a warm introduction via LinkedIn. So like I say, you inspire credibility, you create visibility, and you build relationships with LinkedIn. It takes a little bit of work, but it's very, very beneficial. That's it for me, Linda.
Thank you, Thad. That's awesome information. Gosh, I know for me, LinkedIn's a bit of a challenge, so I always appreciate the reminder of tips about how you can get that warm introduction versus just sending out, I would, how about if we connect? And they're clueless who I am. So I so appreciate that. Very valuable information. All right, next up on our agenda is our Run Showcase. And this is the first of 3 showcases today. We have our showcases, our presentations geared towards 3 specific categories. And our run means that we're going to get some tips or ideas, our feedback, our experience, expertise on how to run your business. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Steve Denny.
Well, great, Glenda. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I am Steve Denny. I'm a principal at Innovative Business Advisors, and we are very proud to be a new partner at E4E. And this is our first presentation. So I hope the group will give us a little bit of grace if I stumble a little bit this morning. But my desire is that you will really get something meaningful from this short overview. And hopefully it'll have a very positive impact on the profits of your business and your confidence as its owner. So let me share a screen here if I may. You guys see my screen okay? Excellent. Thank you for the feedback. So what I'm going to share with the group today is the first lesson in one of our most popular programs, CEO to CEO. And this is really the very foundation by which owners learn to take their business to previously unimaginable profits and success. So the presentation topic is really what you saw on the agenda is the income trend. And the income trend is really how the business can begin to talk to you as a business owner. So I got to make one quick adjustment to my screen here to get the controls front and center. So thank you for your patience. So just to give you a little bit of context for the CEO to CEO program, basically we teach business owners the numbers of their business, and we really walk them through how a dollar moves through their business from a sales perspective, from an expense perspective, and also from a capital perspective. We also teach them bankability, how to become bankable if they're not already, if they are bankable, how to increase their bankability and really then be able to use capital as rocket fuel to grow their business. And then finally, every business owner, very much like myself, we're all technical experts at our business, but nobody really taught us what are the key strategic decisions that need to be made in order to grow the value of our business. So as part of that program, we really highlight key strategic decisions that business owners can use in their thinking as they make those decisions every day in their business, decisions that will help grow the value of their business and really not hurt the value of their business. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of context about the program. One of the things I'd like to start with is a poll. So let me pull that up for you guys. And, we talk with business owners every single day. And really what we do is we read business owners' financial reports every single day with them as well. And it's amazing the range of differences that we see in standard operating reports. So, we have them bring in a copy of their reports and we go over their reports with them. And from the most common report that business owners use is the profit and loss statement. And we just see an incredible variety in the profit and loss statement. So I was very curious from this audience, how do you guys format your profit and loss statement? So it looks like we've got several answers coming in. It's interesting. We always ask our clients, what is the financial report that they read first? And probably 99% of the time or more, they tell us that the profit and loss statement is what they read first. So the other thing I would tell you that's really intriguing, many of you probably already know this, since I think the majority of folks on this call are business owners, but business owners are very unique readers. In the United States, our education system is structured in such a way that when kids start entering school, they're taught to read from the beginning all the way through to the end. But business owners don't do that. Business owners, when they get their financial reports, they start always at the end, right? So why is that? Owners report to us that, when they get their reports, the first thing they typically do is flip over and see, what did the bottom line show them? Was their net profit positive or negative? So kind of an interesting thing. And then they dig back into their report and try and glean some other stuff. So let me share the results. Can everybody see that okay? Perfect. So excellent work. The vast majority of you guys have a one-page profit and loss summary. That's excellent. We're going to talk about why that is important as we move forward. Okay. So we commonly see three different types of P&Ls, and we refer to them really as good, better, and then even better. So let me give you a quick overview of each. This won't be new information for everybody, but what is a good report? Well, a good report is something that is relatively concise, that has all the expense detail and all of the revenue detail for the business. This would be an example of a good report. And you can see that this particular business does quite a bit of expense tracking. They've got a lot of different categories, and then they really look at each individual line item within those categories. And their report turns out to be 3 pages. We see profit and loss summaries of 3 pages or more. The most I've ever seen is 11-page P&L. Can you imagine having an 11-page P&L and having to dig through that every day? So A good report, this is what a good report would look like. An even better report. So what would classify a better report? A better report is where you would have your current period, right? Expense and revenue detail, plus either some comparable period or potentially even a year to date. So in this scenario, what you're seeing is a client that's got basically their current month and then it rolls to a year to date format. So that can be very, very helpful, particularly in a situation like this. I know the prints are really small, but this client had a negative profit for that particular month, but for the year to date they were positive. So I'm sure that provided some sort of solace to them that even though they were not having the best month, they were having a pretty good year. Finally, what would we consider even better report? Well, this would be kind of a multi-format report. In this situation, and this client actually has a very concise one-page report, but they're looking at this period, same period last year. So they're comparing the same month this year to last year. What was the big change? And then they're looking at same period year to date this year and last year. So they're really looking at multiple factors of their business. And if you think about the fact that your financial documents for your business are really the face of your business, and you as an owner are uniquely qualified to be able to read and use these reports, it's really important to try and get as much strategic information in front of you as the owner so you can make good solid decisions about your business moving forward. So that's why we call these even better. It's a good starting point to have reports of this format. We see probably 2/3 of our clients have reports that just show the current month. And about 1/3 of our clients have reports that we would consider better or even better in that regard, where they've got more than just the current month on the report. So frankly, what that tells us and what we've learned over the years is that most of our client business owners, and keep in mind, we're dealing with companies typically in 1 million to 50 million revenue range. Most of those business owners are really not using their financial documents as a real strategic document to help them move the business forward. They're really using it as a document just to record history. So it's not always that meaningful to them. One other thing that's really interesting, because of the fact we work with so many companies, we often see financial reports for companies that are handled by the same bookkeeping company. And it's astounding that a lot of times bookkeepers and accountants, and I'm going to kind of paint with a general brush here. I know this is not specific to every one of them, but a lot of times bookkeepers and accountants will use the same format for every single client. So it gets to a couple of the things that all of these reports have in common. First, all of them detail income and expenses over a period of time. I'm sure everybody knew that. But really, the vast majority of the time, all your operating statements of your business are formatted to benefit your bookkeeper or accountant. They're very rarely formatted to benefit the owner. And this is something that is not the accountant and bookkeeper's fault. This is really the owner's fault, because the owner hasn't adjusted the statements to meet their particular needs. They've really just accepted them as they've come in the vast majority of the time. And again, as I said earlier, they really only show what the owner, what has already happened in the business to the owner. And the owners are typically not using their financial statements as a forward-looking document. So, the big question is, what can an owner do about that, right? What can they do about it? Well, the first and most important thing they can do is flip over to a different type of a format. But before we get there, I want to ask you one more poll question. So thank you, Mr. Hankey, for setting these up. Let me launch this polling. So what I'm asking you as a group now is, thinking about your own business reports, how soon after the end of each month do you typically get your reports? So we see all kinds of answers in these regards. But if your financial documents are really something that can become a strategic document that can help you improve the performance of your business, I would also invite you to consider that really time is not your friend, right? So if we think about this for a minute, if you're getting the reports after the period has ended, what can you do about them? What can you do? So we got just a few more seconds to go here, but what I'm seeing so far is pretty typical answers. Let me share this polling result with you. Can everybody see that? So we've got half of the people are saying they get their reports within a few days or a week at the end of the period. That's excellent, right? That's a pretty speedy period of time in terms of reporting. But 2 or 3 weeks or longer after the end of the period, now you're talking about something that should be recorded in a history book someplace, because the information is very, very difficult to use at that point in time. So let me talk to you about a different format, and I'm going to switch gears here and show you a new format. We call this the income trend. Can everybody see that okay? Excellent. Thank you, Glenda. I appreciate that. What we invite business owners to do is to take their income operating statements, if you will, their profit and loss statements, and put them in a column format 1 month after the other. So what you'll see here is one of our clients, and this is their September period recently closed. So they've got September in there, and you can see the last 4 months ahead of that. So what does this enable you to do as a business owner? One of the key things we preach is that gross profit is probably the most important line on your financial operating statement. Why is that the case? Because everything after gross profit is what you have available as an owner to pay yourself and all of your expenses, right? This particular company happens to be a service company, so that, as you can see, they have very, very strong margins. Had a little blip here in August where their margin went down significantly, and I'm sure we're going to see an effect as we go down the P&L. But again, if you begin to lay things into a format like this, you really begin to see what's happening in the business. So you can begin to really see from month to month what are the big differences in the business. Okay, so what would you say in this particular business? Looks like they've got a pretty positive trend going. Would you agree? I mean, sales have gone from in May of 2.6 million to September of 4.2 million. So they're growing sales nicely. I would say something unusual must have happened in August and in September. Perhaps they've made some significant adjustments in their business, or they have a new line of business that's come in that has got a different level of gross profit for them. But you can see that there are some things that are affecting the gross profit lines. Everything else below that, of course, are all their expenses, right? And then a couple of significant enhancements that we add to the report. The number one thing that business owners that we've talked with struggle with is their operating report, their profit and loss summary can show them whether or not their business made money or lost money, but it rarely coincides to their bank balance. And they're always like, well, if I made so much money, how come I never have any money in the bank, right? Well, one of the things we do is we actually create this true cash line, which really shows them what is the cash production of the business. It's kind of a hybrid of marrying their profit and loss summary to their cash flow statement. But if you look at this, you can also see on the journey to that, we also factor out to an EBITDA line and factor out what the owner's compensation is in the business. So why do we do that? Because for a business, if you are bankable and you're using capital to really grow your business, i.e. using lending potentially to grow your business, your bank very typically wants to measure you at an EBITDA level. So we want to make sure that business owners are well acquainted with what is the EBITDA margin of their particular business. They should know that before their banks know that, and they should know it down cold. The other thing is, banks always assume that if the business gets in trouble, the owner can quit paying themselves. make sure everybody else gets paid, but the owner needs to sacrifice their earnings first before the bank loses its, before the bank is in jeopardy of not getting paid. So we always want to be upfront about the owner and the compensation that they're experiencing from the business, because if the business gets in trouble, the first thing the bank's going to ask them to do is come in and sacrifice some or all of that in order to meet all of their obligations. And then, as you can see, it takes them down to what's called a true cash scenario. So it really shows them the true cash flow of the particular business. So one thing I want to illustrate for you is one thing that is very uncommon is to add percentages next to the dollar amounts. So we do that for a very specific reason as well, because as a business owner, you should think about your business from what's called a common sense method, so that you can really see how do your expenses move over time. And when you're evaluating them as a percentage of revenue, you can see when things are moving favorably. So for example, in this scenario, they're actually becoming more effective from a payroll perspective. They're getting higher productivity out of their people because payroll expense as a percentage of the revenue is actually going down over time. That's one of the things a business owner strategically, would always like to have more productivity out of folks, right? So the percentages allow you to really evaluate your business in that particular regard. So again, I want to emphasize a couple of things. Your business is not comparable to others. Let me make a quick switch here. Your business is really not comparable to others, right? Your business is unique. Even within the same industry, two identical businesses that are virtually doing the same thing, you could take two Subway franchises, and I guarantee you their income statements are going to look very different. So remember, your business is not comparable to others. It's up to you as the owner to maximize your particular business and the opportunity that your business has. Your business also changes over time. When you look at it in a trend format, you can really see those changes. And then what begins to happen almost naturally, the human mind takes over, and you begin to see the trends that are taking place in your business, and you begin to see the change that's happening in your business. And we all know that hindsight is 2020. The ability to look back and see what actually happened can inform your actions moving forward. So the real interesting thing is, as you begin to monitor the trends in your business, you really begin to uncover as a business owner what your business is capable of achieving. And as you begin to have that confidence, it really gives you the ability to make some changes in your business that can incur to your benefit as a business owner. So key takeaways I'd like for you guys to take from this presentation. First off, try and get your profit and loss statement on one page if it's not already there. Much easier for you to look at it on one page. You get all the information concisely put together, and it'll make your life a lot easier. Always look at comparable time periods next to each other. Look at them in a trend, right? And if you were to look at our income statement, for example, you'd see, at least the last 2 years in a trend together. So it's really nice when you can look at the data and actually see what's happening in your business. Your brain will automatically pick up the trends. Add the percentages next to the numbers so you can really see, if my revenue is changing dramatically from month to month, is the percentage of money that I'm spending in each of those categories changing as well, right? So it allows you to really see easy trends, focus on sales, which every business owner does intuitively. But don't forget, gross margin is probably the most important thing in your business. Really focus on gross margin. It's not necessarily what you're selling. It's actually, what you get to keep from what you're selling that's important. So gross margin is really what leads to net income. So when you focus on gross margin and net income, you can really begin to improve your business. And then also add a measurement for true cash. Most business owners don't do this. And I would venture to say, if I were to poll 100 business owners, probably 90 of them would say to us that they don't really understand why their profit and loss statement says one thing, but their bank balance says something else. And that's a big gulf for most business owners' operations. But if you put that on your statement and see it every month, you can keep close tabs on what's really happening in your business. So remember, your operating reports demonstrate what your business has already accomplished, but begin to use those reports to help you drive the business moving forward. So one thing I'd like to share with you, if anybody would like a copy of the income trend template that I've illustrated, please reach out to me either via phone or email, and we'd be delighted to share the blank template with you. So thank you very much for your attention. And Glenda, I'm going to hand the mic back over to you.
Thank you, Steve. Hey, questions for Steve Denny? I don't see any in the Q&A box. I'm sure there's probably somebody who's got something on their mind. I know for myself, Steve, first of all, let me say, really nice job in your presentation. You did well, my friend, and welcome, new E4E partner. We're super excited to have you. And if you happen to be, we have 2 levels of membership at E4E. If you happen to be a subscriber and you're interested in becoming a partner, we could certainly share that information with you. Or if you are a guest today and you would like to become a part of our organization, we could certainly talk to you about becoming a subscriber. But again, I'll ask one more time, any questions for Steve Denny?
Well, I'd just like to reiterate some of what Steve said, because I'm a former chief financial officer, so I can certainly relate to everything he said, and he's spot on with it. And he's right about the fact that business owners often get what the accountants give them, and it's not really the accountant's fault, because the business owners don't communicate or don't know how to communicate to the accountants what the differentiators are, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. And if you go through a process where you devise a strategy and then based on that strategy develop a budget and then go to the accountant with a budget for your business, it's going to help them tailor your financial statements to your particular situation. And indeed, every business is unique in that regard.
I would agree, Dale. And one thing I'd emphasize is what nobody asked is what's the best financial statements we've seen, and that is one where there is either a forecast or budget on it, where the owner has taken the time to establish some goals for themselves and is measuring their progress on a regular, recurring basis against their goals. And that would be what I'd consider to be the gold standard in operating reports.
I agree.
Steve, we do have a question from Heidi. What's the calculation for true cash?
So true cash is the EBITDA minus your principal payments that you're making. So if the business has debt, remember, principal payments are not recorded on your profit and loss statement. They're only recorded on your balance sheet. But what happens is if you've got debt against the business and you're paying for, vehicles or equipment or buildings or what have you, your interest portion of that payment hits your operating statement, your profit and loss statement, but the principal portion of that payment does not. And business owners forget that.
Kathy said, thanks for your wisdom, Steve. And Ann said, Steve, awesome presentation. So great job.
Well, hopefully it's helpful for you all.
Absolutely, Steve. And I found your income trend template. Hopefully everybody will take advantage of getting that from you, because I thought it was easier to read. And so this first time I've seen something like that. For kudos for you, for you and your company developing something like that. I think that is definitely a value added. All right, moving right along, we're going to move into our next showcase, which the category is how to grow your business. And so in those showcases, we learn tips and ideas, insights, sometimes sharing experience about how to grow our business. And so if you weren't with us last month, we kicked off a 3-part series. And never fear, all of our showcases are video recorded, and we have E4E has its own YouTube channel. So you'll be able to take advantage if you missed part one, and I know you're going to want to, after you hear the presentation today of part two, you're definitely going to want to go back and revisit part one because that was an awesome presentation last month. So in our series was called Think Differently. And so in our Think Differently series last month, we heard from Will Hankey, who stressed how he had to overcome self-limiting beliefs and develop a more productive mindset. And again, you're going to want to go back because that was an awesome showcase presentation. This month, Bill Purnett and E4E partner Kara Gamber are going to introduce part two of that three-part series. Kara will share her story of adversity as she learned how to think critically about how to balance her family needs while starting up and running her business. No matter how much time and effort Kara put in, there simply was not enough of her to go around. And Bill, I can certainly identify with Kara's struggles that are described. Can you tell us more about Kara, how she was able to overcome her challenges and thrive today?
Glenda, thank you. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
So Kara Gamber launched Kara Design Group 25 years ago. Hard to believe that it's been that. I'm sure, Kara, it's doesn't seem that long to you. But after attending Lindenwood University, Kara received her degree in studio art. She made her mark as art director for a St. Louis megachurch. As Glenda mentioned, Kara decided to take on the challenge of launching her own business at the same time she was starting a family. Some of you may be able to identify with the struggle of choosing between family needs and the challenges of starting and running a business. It didn't take Kara long to work through the early stages of company creation. Then she hit a brick wall. Business was too good, too fast. Before Kara was able to put the appropriate foundation in place, business took off like gangbusters, and she began to build Kara Design Group. But then reality set in. Kara found herself overwhelmed. She was busy, but not productive, putting out fires, wearing all of the hats that business owners try to wear when they first start their business. She was consumed with doing with no time to think. Kara quickly got caught up in the tyranny of the urgent. She never had enough time to work on the things that mattered most. Important issues like taking care of her family were challenged by urgent business matters. It became increasingly difficult to find balance between business and family. Like quicksand, Kara was stuck in a quagmire of not having enough time. Buried alive, Kara was dropping balls and quickly became disenchanted. At first, she was angry and frustrated. Once Kara accepted her new reality, her optimism kicked in and she began to take charge of the situation. She started making better choices. She began to realize she had self-limiting beliefs that were holding her back, and she began to regain her confidence. She started thinking more deeply about her problems and her solutions. As Kara's attitude, thoughts, behaviors, and habits changed, her results improved dramatically. She started to turn the corner, and through her successes, she began to feel good about herself again. Being a high achiever, Kara is embarking on a new level of thinking to get more things done with less effort, planning, organizing, prioritizing, and completing to become even more effective to get things done through others. Through all of these trials and tribulations, Kara has stayed true to herself and believes that everything she has done in her life has set the stage for what's now on her horizon. Kara, tell us more about your story.
Thank you, Bill. All right. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
All good here?
Yes.
All right, cool. So anybody who knows me really well knows that I love all things nature. When I studied art in school, a lot of my pieces included elements of nature. I love taking walks in the woods, watching birds, and photographing trees. Honestly, I'd rather be surrounded by a pile of leaves than a pile of laundry any day. So this is a picture of the oldest living oak tree in the United States. It's called the angel tree. We were visiting some friends in North Carolina and decided to take a side journey to South Carolina just so I could take a picture of this beauty. Another thing I love, gardening. I don't know why, but growing things makes me really happy. Before I put a tree or a plant in the ground, I think about, how much water it's going to need, where the sun is going to hit it, how much soil, the fertilizer, the whole 9 yards. If you think about it, growing a business is a lot like gardening. Planning your garden, thinking, strategizing, creating a vision, choosing plants, kind of like choosing clients or customers. Daily watering, processes and communication. Fertilizing is like professional enrichment, getting coaches, classes, reading books. Weeding, addressing and eliminating issues. Pruning, getting rid of the non-essentials to prep for new growth. Sunshine, I love sunshine. Relaxing and enjoy the journey. In my case, figuratively speaking, I found myself surrounded by what felt like an acre of miscellaneous trees, flowers, bushes, all intertwined with invasive weeds. But honestly, it didn't happen overnight. Here's what I'm going to cover today, because this is my story of how I was able to take back my greatest asset, my time, so I could attend to what is important and recultivate a happy work-life balance. I'm going to talk about a little history, how it began, what put me head deep in weeds and why, and the steps I took to gain back control, eliminate the non-essential, and get to my happy place. So Jeff and I started, we'd been married 5 years when we started our family. I made the tough decision to leave the job as an art director to stay with the baby. This was not an easy decision either because it cut our income completely in half. So as you can imagine, finances were pretty tight. So within 6 months, we launched Cara Design Group. I looked at the business like this. Starting it was a good way to help supplement my income by putting a little extra gravy on the table. I didn't turn away anyone. I did whatever they wanted, and I did all the work myself. Even when baby 2 and baby 3 came along, I was able to keep a pretty good balance. I usually had a couple of regular clients and a few customers here and there. I was doing okay. I helped a gun case manufacturing client take his website in 4 years to web sales of 7,000 to 1 million a year. Over time, as the kids grew and those responsibilities lessened, I was able to focus more on the business. Up until that time, I'd been fairly self-isolated, so I decided to get out of my comfort zone. I started studying, attending seminars, rubbing shoulders with other business owners. I even hired someone to help me with the tasks. Soon my phone started ringing a lot. I started getting tons of referrals and website leads. Business exploded. And before I knew it, the scales had tipped. And you guessed it, I was like a frog in hot water. And even though my income had increased in 1 year, my happiness decreased. I had no time to plan, no time for family. My health was in jeopardy. I was also super frustrated because the person I hired was not meeting my expectations. There was a huge disconnect between what I was asking the person to do and what was getting back. So why did it happen? Why was my growth, which should have been a good thing, riddled with so many issues? Limiting beliefs. They keep us from seeing what is possible for ourselves. They keep us from taking action to be our most authentic and powerful self. For me, it was hard to see clearly. And it also felt very, very paralyzing. So on the surface, things can look initially good, but underlying issues can cause problems, stunt growth, and ultimately end in disaster if proper care and action isn't taken. Simply put, my self-limiting beliefs were choking out my root system. I was stuck in the gravy mentality, saying yes all the time, willing to do whatever it took. My priorities were off, struggling with busyness, perfection, and a do-it-yourself mindset. In my case, it wasn't difficult for me to see I'd gotten myself into a major pickle. So now that you know how it began, why, and what happened, let's take a look at some of the steps I took to get out of the weeds and back into my garden. One of the biggest and best decisions I made is when I hired a nationally known marketing and branding guru to help me. This was extremely expensive. She was not cheap, but well worth it. Working with her felt like brain boot camp. She gave me tons of homework. It was really intense, took a lot of time, and it basically forced me to answer some very tough and revealing questions about myself, my business, and my life. But the best thing is, it got me thinking, and something I hadn't done for a very long time. Working with her helped me think differently about myself and my business. I was able to get clarity on my ideal client, who I am meant to serve. And by the end of our time together, I had a picture of what I wanted my business and my life to look like. So you can have a vision, but if you don't take steps putting that vision to work, you'll continue to go nowhere. The next thing I did was set a plan in motion. This plan: get things done. Thanks to Bill Purnett's gentle but persuasive kick in the butt, I started running jobs through this process and getting things done, one thing at a time. And soon, busy became productive. Next, get yourself a garden gnome. So I got help. Help can come in many forms. Thanks to a community of experts, help is never far away. I'm forever grateful for the people on here, the people in this group. Very, very grateful. So Darren Hardy is one of my favorite virtual business mentors. Both my husband and I love his daily advice. We get it delivered to our inbox every day. It's a short and powerful video that's always inspiring and motivating. I love my mastermind groups. It's a place where I can give and receive direction and advice. These books I have found to be a great resource. I have to say, one of my favorites is Never Split the Difference. I've actually read that twice, believe it or not. And Traction, great, great book. I also hired more people to help. So that helped free up time as well. So let's talk about pruning for new growth. So I have to tell you, at the end of every season, I cut my rose bushes back so far down to the ground that they absolutely look pathetic. But every spring, they come back better than they were before, with blooms to die for. Pruning gives the plant a chance to concentrate on its roots. In the long run, it makes them stronger. So in order to get my roots stronger, I had to let go of some things, which was pretty hard for me, but I did it. Sometimes you have to give up control to get control. So the first thing I did, and this was actually easy because I don't like math, accounting. I sent that off. The next, this might sound a little silly, but hiring a housekeeper has freed up a ton of time. And it was pretty easy to do. Hello, can you come clean my house? Great, done, more time. The next thing, site maintenance. That was eating up a ton of my time. So I was able to hand that off to somebody, and that was pretty easy too, because I found somebody who was technically better than me, and they were available, and that was wonderful. Great relief there. The next thing I did, I rehomed clients. That's a nice way of saying fired them. So I had to write a few Dear John letters to them. It's not you, it's me, bye-bye. Organizing and filing. So I've got my husband, Jeff, to take care of all of this. He's one of those nutty people who actually likes putting things where they belong. It's true, opposites attract. Hold on a second, I've got Amazon trying to play music right now. Technology, it's awesome, isn't it? So, weeding. Let's talk about eliminating weeds. Weeds, when we weed a garden, it helps reveal our boundaries. It helps us to see what we've got to work with, and allows the important plants room to grow. So, let me get back here. How did I eliminate weeds? I said no. Weeding starts with no. It's a complete sentence. Here's a fun fact. You can tell somebody no in Spanish, and it still means no. I also started saying no to current clients. Was it easy? Actually, yes. Can you do this tomorrow? No. I need you to do, no. Will you, let me think about it for a minute. No. Saying no has allowed me to say yes more authentically. So I also had to learn how to communicate. Learning how to communicate my expectations to my team helps me get things done right the first time. And here's how I did it. By one process. Number one, I set clear expectations. So I have regular meetings. I set up deadlines. There's a lot of clarity that happens during these meetings. Then I set up a time to review. This helps me stay track of the progress, and I'm able to take a look at what's going on and make sure, yes, we are on track. Then lastly, when the job is finished, I can provide consequences for the behavior. That means a pat on the back or a kick in the pants. And this completes the cycle, kind of a shampoo, rinse, repeat effect. Lastly, my favorite, relax. So this is Carl Lewis. He was an incredible track and field athlete. His career spanned the late 70s to the early 90s. He won 9 gold medals, and namely in the 1984 Olympics, he won 4 in Los Angeles. When he would start a race, he would come out of the blocks in last place. While the others were bolting off, he was pacing himself. The top picture here shows him toward the end of the race, kind of running with the other people. But in the bottom picture, as he approaches the finish line, it actually looks like he's running faster as he takes the lead and finishes to win. This is actually a video by BBC on YouTube. It's amazing to watch. So the interesting thing here is that he is actually moving at the same steady pace he had been the entire race. He wasn't speeding up. The other runners were pushing so hard, they were actually decelerating. When asked about his method of going faster, he said, the key is staying relaxed. Relax to go faster. So the bottom line is, I'm getting more things done when I take time to unplug. Now I have more time to enjoy my family and friends and do things that really matter most to me. So today, I have more time. I'm out of the weeds. I'm less stressed. I'm making more money with less effort. I have a clear vision, and I'm really excited about the future. Although I'll be the first to admit, it's not always perfect, like sunshine and roses, but it's progress, and I'll take that any day. So this is the end of my presentation, but it's certainly not the end of my story. Any questions?
Great presentation, Kara. Yeah, I love the honesty and the integrity there. I mean, we've all had pitfalls over the years, and being able to confidently acknowledge them and talk about how we overcame them is an inspiration to all of us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Kira, I got a couple things. Gail said self-limiting beliefs, yikes. They really push a person down. I wish we taught this at a very young age. Thanks, Kira. Kathy says, great job, wonderful story. Lori, love your story. Thank you for sharing so many great insights we can all learn from. Dad says, excellent presentation, wonderful plan for going forward and growing. Karen says, love the analogy. Don't use big words like that. I get a little confused there, Karen. Richard, awesome presentation. Love the examples and visions. Kathleen Judge says, thanks for the book recommendations. I look forward to reading them. I love Never Split the Difference. I've probably gone through it 6 or 7 times now.
I'm going to do it
Ian said,
again.
inspiring. Bill used the same word, great analogy. I am a gardener. There was a question, Kara, if there was, what was the question? Sorry, I got to scroll back up. If you had one thing that you could do over, what would it be?
I'm going to take Bill's advice on this because I asked him the same question when he interviewed me for E4E. I don't think I do anything over. And the reason is it's made me who I am today. And it's those experiences, even though I have to say I went through the school of hard knocks, those things have made me who I am today. And I believe have made me a better person. And just given me the building blocks to cross that bridge in the garden that I'm at right now to the place that I'm headed to right now. So I don't think I'd change anything.
Awesome. No other comments. Thank you.
Thanks.
Really, really nice job, Kara. Thank you so much. I know myself, I benefited, and I know we all benefited from you being, honest and sharing your story with us. I'm a visual learner, so I not only heard you, but I loved your PowerPoint slides. You absolutely held my attention. They were awesome. So really nice job on that also. So thank you. As a visual learner, you did really well there. And oh my goodness, part 2 of our series was awesome. And Bill, I cannot wait until we get next month, I should say, in November, we will get part 3 of that 3-part series. So let's move on with our agenda. And next up is our Live showcase that we, of course, are all dedicated business owners to growing our business, but we get it that it's really important, and Kara included this in her presentation. A strong point is that we also need to take care of ourselves and actually live. So to provide us some tips, some ideas, some thoughts, some sharing, next up is our E4E partner, Kathy Sexton.
Well, thank you. And I'll start sharing, but I wanted to first say, and I don't know that everybody would know this, but when we pick our topics, we pick our topics months in advance, and we really don't know what other people are going to be talking about. And I thought last month when Will started off with his great presentation and how he grew and his money story changed, and then today with what Kara talked about, and then of course Steve talking about our money, I think it just goes to show how we all kind of think along the same paths. And today I'm going to talk about your money story. So my question to you is, did you have a dream of running a small business? We go into business for so many different reasons. Maybe it was always a dream. Maybe you fell into it by accident, or you needed to start because out of necessity. No matter the reason, we all had a vision in our head of what our business would look like. So let's talk about that dream. So we'll go back in time a little bit, and it could have been last month for some, last year, or many years ago. Let's think about the day you started your business, or even when it was still a dream in your head, when it was exciting and fresh, scary, of course, but energizing. Can you put yourself back in time when you were just starting out? Doing what you love, that you're passionate and excited. Finally, your dream, and you knew you were going to make lots of money and be wildly successful. And it would be so easy. Well, maybe not that easy. And then reality set in. Maybe you can relate to the feeling like no matter what you do, your business is not going in the direction that you hoped. Some days you ask yourself, is this really worth it? Or I need to go get a real job. Boy, every time I thought that in the beginning, and I did say it many times, my stomach would turn and I would just feel sick. And that was a signal to me that I had to find a way to make this all work. I've got great products and services, but I kept stumbling. And maybe you're in that spot, or you've been in that spot. Or maybe everything's going really well for you, and then this pandemic hits. As small business owners, we have to wear so many hats. Kara talked about this a lot. Doing the marketing, the bookkeeping, the emails, the sales, the taxes. You're working so hard just to make it work. But for some of us, we're struggling to make ends meet. We're struggling for the financial piece of our business. Have you ever asked yourself, how did I ever get in this situation? What was I thinking? As a small business owner, getting paid and money management can be tricky Because in addition to handling customers, cash flow, managing your accounts properly is what keeps your business running smoothly. Consequently, getting paid in full, on time, as well as understanding money management has to be a priority. Even if you elect to hire out your bookkeeping, you still need to be familiar with basic bookkeeping and money management principles and activities. The financial piece of running a business is one of the biggest challenges small business owners face. The management of money is a behavioral mindset. The standard belief is how much you make depends on how much you and how hard you work. Have you ever thought that? Heard that? Just work a little bit harder and I'll make more money. The truth is, our behaviors are what really determines our wealth. If you don't put into a process into place, you will never make the money that you desire. So with all that said, where do we start? Well, first, let's look at money stress. Money can cause financial stress. Financial stress is the emotional, physical, or social pain that you may feel because of your financial situation. 75% of adults report feeling stressed about money. Financial stress can affect your health, your business, and your relationships. Since finances are one of the biggest causes of stress, finding ways to improve your financial health is extremely important. That's why I created a program to help my clients systematically manage their money and reduce their stress around when it comes to money. Why is it that some of us aren't able to escape the pattern of overspending, struggling to stay on budget, falling into credit card debt, not even paying yourself as a business owner? Been there, done that. It's not always from a lack of trying. Maybe you've tried and tried, but it's just not working. So what's standing in your way of making real money? Tools and tactics are great, but we first have to look at our mindset. Your mindset is the foundation of your money structure. If you aren't building on a solid ground, all the tools, tactics, software, processes, and systems won't make a long-term difference for you. If you have limiting and negative beliefs about money, your progress will never last. That's why people cycle in and out of debt, because they've not addressed their mindset around money. As you look at these words, they're just words. But if we can relate to them, to our beliefs, if any of them are relatable, they can have either negative or positive effects on our actions. So are you sabotaging yourself with your beliefs? If you're feeling like you're always going to struggle with money, you probably will always struggle with money. If you feel that you have enough, you're probably always going to have enough. We are what we believe. So what is your money story? Our unconscious beliefs developed around money determine how you live your life. It all starts with how we were raised, what we saw, what we heard or experienced around money. The experiences that you had growing up, which you internalized and ultimately became your beliefs, formed what you believe to be true about money. When we're first exposed to these as a child, they often seem accurate based on the circumstances at the time. Maybe you heard your mother say, there just isn't enough money for that, or we can't afford that. Money doesn't grow on trees, or financial struggles after your father got laid off. Or you heard a parent accusing another parent of spending too much. Maybe you heard that money will take care of itself. If you work hard enough, the money will come. The things we heard as a child could have been positive or negative, but all the same, they have an effect on our belief system. My money story is not about not having enough. Growing up in a household of 7 children, and at one time, 5 cousins came to live with us for a while when their mother had passed. So there were 12 children and 3 adults all living under one roof. Both of my parents always worked. And they had to work really hard to keep all of us clothed and fed. At one point, I remember hearing many discussions around us possibly losing our home. Listening to my parents trying to figure out where we would all go, who would we go to live with, what would happen, and how they were trying to save our house. So it seemed to be a sacrifice when it came to money in our house. At age 15, I even lied about my age so that I could start working to have money to do things and to buy clothes to reduce the hand-me-downs that I had to wear. So my question to you is, what's your money story? Good? Bad? We need to take time to visit the thoughts and the beliefs we have. We all have a money story that lives inside of us from our past. We just need to decide if we're going to carry that story forward or write a new story. If we can't see it, we can't change it. Concrete example, our mind is like an iceberg based on 10% conscious mind. That's our choices, how we think, how we decide, and then we act. What will I wear today? What time will I get up? What will I have for breakfast? Will I make phone calls prior to doing emails? Will I work on my budget? Those are all conscious decisions that we make on a daily basis. But 90% is subconscious, no choice. We act without making the decision to do so. Sitting at your desk and automatically start working on your email without the intention to do so. Toss something in the trash can. You can do that subconsciously. You know where it is. You've been doing it for a long time, so you do it without thinking. But note, if you move that trash can across the room, it will take conscious thought for you to remember that you moved the trash can and you have to place the trash in a different spot, because you're probably going to end some of those pieces of paper on the floor where that trash can used to be. It's the same with our money. If our beliefs are negative around money, we will have negative decisions and actions. We must start becoming aware and recognizing and start thinking about those subconscious thought patterns and make them more conscious. So some of the common money beliefs, some of these may trigger limiting beliefs that you may have around money. There's never enough money. I've got to work hard to earn my money. Money is evil. If I make money, I'll just lose it. Money comes and money goes. There's just never enough money. I'm bad with money. Well, it's time for a new mindset so that we can create new results. There is so much power in awareness. The first step in taking and breaking the self-sabotaging beliefs is to rewrite your money story. And this can be deep and challenging work. But you can come face to face with the beliefs that you have held for years that you didn't even realize. So if you're ready to change those old beliefs and habits, it's time to rewrite your story. Look at what you've been telling yourself and change it. Rewrite the story as you would like to see it happen, what you want to happen. This will take you on an amazing journey with some eye and mind opening ahas from the stories that my clients have told me with doing that exercise. There is enough for everyone. These are some of the money truths. Money supply is really infinite. There's no competition out there. You are your only competition. There are only human fear-based concepts. God and money are not separate. Money is God expressed in a physical form. Our behaviors are what really determine our wealth. You are the most important person in your business, and you deserve to be paid first. Money exists to support your purpose. You have a choice to stay where you are, or you can choose to change. You are greater than your history, and truth transcends history. You are a channel for infinite abundance. Only your mind opens or closes that channel. Your beliefs create your life. What you believe about yourself and about your money creates your experiences. Change your belief, change your life. It's really important to start thinking differently about money. One of the biggest changes is in my business financially, other than implementing the system that I teach my clients, which is the Miracle Money Method, is thinking about reciprocity. When I was, and this was earlier on in my business, but when I was debating on investing in a program, a dear friend of mine said to me, think about it this way. If you don't invest in yourself, in your business, and invest in others, why would anyone want to invest in you? Boy, that was a game changer for me. So between that and implementing a systematic approach to making sure my business was profitable, those were both the biggest financial changes in my life and my business. You know, another thing, as a business owner, you've probably heard or said this yourself, I can't afford the expense at this time. When times get tough, the first thing companies tend to do is curtail or cease spending. Everything that costs money is viewed as an expense. Some business owners have an expense-only mindset. This mindset is one of the biggest downfalls of business in general. If everything is viewed as an expense, then decisions are not based on growth. They're based on survival. And once again, here's a way business owners can be sabotaging their ability to make sound, strategic decisions that could grow and sustain their business. So how do we look at it differently? I would like for you to start thinking of your expenses as investments in your company. When you think of investments, we think about ROI, return on our investment. What is the result or the return on your money spent? You become much wiser and savvy business owner if you think first of ROI prior to spending. Any money you spend in your company should be considered an investment. Now, it always doesn't turn out that way, but at least the idea and the thought of your ROI is made prior to spending. Think about it this way. I heard clients tell me they couldn't afford to market their business. And my reply is, then you can't afford to be in business. You must look long-term when making your investments. But because the ROI is most often not the immediate, we really need to think strategically and quit thinking in the negative expense cycle and start thinking around investments. Now that you have an idea of maybe you've thought of your current story or the beliefs that drive your story and your choices, once you have rewritten your story, it's the time to start an action list. So my challenge to you is think about at least one action that you can start putting into place today. Because that action today or that change in a belief today can make the difference in your successful business tomorrow. Hopefully by now you have some acceptance about maybe your thoughts and maybe your story. Things have come up as I've talked today. Believe that you can change your story, and think about how you really think about money. And are you making some necessary changes that you might need to make? To help with your mindset, I've really created some worksheets for you. And Will, if you'll put those in the links into the chat box, that would be great. So one is a money belief worksheet, and the second one is a rewrite your money story worksheet. And that is where you're going to kind of think about your backstory, think about where your beliefs came from. And then after you've really recognized some of that, because some of that will really be eye-opening for you, then you can rewrite it to what you really want it to be. I also have a financial quiz. If you think it would be helpful for you, just reach out to me and I definitely would send it to you. So at this point, I'll just turn it over to any questions that you might have.
Well, Kathy, one of the things that your program triggered in terms of a memory for me was the fact that, as you indicated, our current story is often resides in our subconscious. And it was placed there by experiences we had previously. And that to make a change, we have to bring that into the conscious mind, become aware of it, and then take repeated actions. But something I read recently, and I wish I could recall the source because I like to credit sources where I can, but they said once that you do that conscious thinking with a new thought process frequently enough, it actually takes residence in the subconscious and replaces what was there previously. So it's a beautiful cycle of taking what's been happening on the subconscious level, bringing it to the conscious level, making the appropriate changes, and then allowing it to become our natural style again.
Yes, it's definitely so true. And it really does work, and it makes a really big difference.
Kathy Karen said, I'm taking Kathy's Miracle Money Method course and it is eye-opening, highly recommended.
Thank you, Karen.
Thad says, thank you for an insightful presentation. I need to review my money mindset. Thank you for the worksheets. They will be very helpful. That looks like it. Kathy, can you post in the chat the link to the to your program too?
Sure.
All right. Thank you.
Wow, 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 Kathy. Whew. My goodness, my money story started bubbling up as you were talking. Yikes. All right. Well, this is a great segue. Earlier I mentioned that we do video all of our presentations. And so everybody has the opportunity to go back to the E4E YouTube channel so that we could revisit the presentations that we've had today. And absolutely, the three that we've had today are ones that I know I'm going to want to revisit. And I'm so grateful that I'll be able to do that. I tried to take notes because I know Bill's going to be asking about takeaways in just a second. So But notes, sometimes I lose those. So I love the idea that there's a resource I can go out and I can actually replay presentations. So thank you very much. And so will you put in that chat box for us, if you haven't already done so, the link, so that everybody will know how they can access our YouTube channel. And if they are so inclined, which why wouldn't you, want to subscribe to our channel, they'll get notifications of when new presentations have been uploaded there. So wonderful, wonderful resource for our partners, our subscribers, and our guests today. So make sure you take advantage. Check out the E4E YouTube channel. All right, with that, I'm going to send it over to Bill Purnett. And Bill, I let the cat out of the bag today. I let him know you were going to be asking about takeaways from today's presentation.
Thanks, Glenda. The behind E4E is one thing, and that's we really want to make a difference in your life. So we would appreciate, I'm going to say a few words here, but we would appreciate you sharing with the group anything that really caught your attention today. And Kathy, I'm going to echo a few of the things that you said. So everybody knows about the pandemic, and I'm sure it's having a different impact in different ways on you and your family. What I don't know that we remember, though, is that being miserable is a choice. So if you're miserable, or people in your family are miserable, or friends are miserable, let's remind them that that is a choice that they're making, and they don't need to stay in that place. To your point, Kathy, about mindset, our subconscious mind tends to come back to haunt us. If you look at the negative news, if you look at the political ads today, that it's just full of negative, negative, negative. So we have to work harder than ever to stay above the line and stay positive. But it is well worth it. But let's stay in happiness and joy, not in despair and negativeness. Will, did you get any feedback?
Hi, Rhonda said the tips on how to leverage LinkedIn were great. Steve's presentation was eye-opening, and I'll use those insights when advising business owners. That's it. Rhonda's the only one that learned anything.
Wow.
Today.
Okay.
Oh, Glenda said no is a complete sentence. That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
And it works in Spanish, from what I understand. Theo, I need to tend to my garden. Richard said, looking at expenses as return on investment when you think about spending money. I like that. Heidi said, I love the pruning. I am working on that now. That's awesome. As usual, we kind of had all three presentations work together. We don't tend to plan that, but it always seems to work out that way.
It's amazing how that works. It's amazing.
That's it, Bill.
Okay, good deal. Thank you. So I don't want to go away without letting you know how much we appreciate you investing your time today with E4E. So Dale, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've got planned for next month?
Happy to, Bill. I'm going to try to pull up the preview here, so hopefully everybody can see it. The programs today are classic examples of why, as a partner, I've only missed about 3 E4E meetings in the last 5 years. I always get great insights. The partners do a fabulous job of sharing new perspectives for me and new ways to look at things, and I just love it. And next month is going to be another program just like this one, filled with great knowledge. So we're going to start off with Mark Breimer doing the marketing spotlight, and he's going to be talking about networking so that you'll be remembered. Brian Rogers is doing a program, Grammar Tips for Business Success. For those of us who may have battled with English and grammar and language in school, this will be a nice little refresher for us, and hopefully our interest will be a little greater now. Tom Ruwich is going to complete the series on critical thinking with You Can't Predict Your Future, but You Can Control It. And then an ever popular program, Will Hankey with Business Approved. Now, in addition to this, as if this wasn't enough, we're starting a new format next month. And at E4E, we're always looking for ways to improve. And one of the things we're working on is trying to return to a greater degree of interaction with the programs and even in our networking to get closer to what we were doing with the events that we held at Karen Hoffman's Business Lodge. So next month during the opening time, we're going to have networking. Will's going to place us into small groups and we'll be able to actually network with one another. And Tom Ruwich and his program is going to build more interaction into that program as well. So we'll be getting closer and closer to what we experienced at the Business Lodge previously. So hopefully you'll join us and experience that wonder. And, you know, we're going to be walking the talk. One of the core philosophies of E4E is it's not so much what you learned, but what you implemented from what you learned. So we're going to be implementing what we learned next month. With that, I'm going to turn it back to Glenda.
Thanks, Dale. Super excited about the program for next month. I know you can count on me to be here, Dale, and hopefully lots of others will join us. And I'm excited about the new format that we'll have the opportunity to experience breakout rooms. And I think some of us that have done some other, are involved in other Zoom type meetings, we're kind of have a little bit of experience, but I know that'll certainly help me, you know, hone in on those particular skills. So I'll be able to experience that. So I'm excited about that. So with that, gosh, we haven't said this in a while, Bill. You know, part of the core of E4E is don't fly alone. And all of us today, we took out time to actually attend this meeting and engage in the programming. And so what wonderful advice that was, you know, developed years ago as part of the E4E organization is that, you know, we're not alone in this. And sometimes right now, you know, in the world 2020, sometimes it can be kind of lonely. And so I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be a part of this group. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye. Thanks again very much for all of you who carved out time to be with us today. All of you take care, and I'll see you in November, the third Wednesday in November.